Well, welcome those who have joined us today or who are watching this at a later time. My name is Megan, and I work in the Office of Information Technology, and we have been working to host various trainings for students, faculty, and staff to make sure that you can get the most out of the Adobe Creative Cloud Tools that we can all take advantage of and use for free because UA is an Adobe Creative campus. So today we have Jeremy Rich from UA Printing, and he is going to talk about how to best set up files to print. For me, as a PR student, this was something that was a big learning curve for me after graduating, is that I could make some files, but did I necessarily know how to set them up best for the print shop? So Jeremy's going to go over that today and answer some questions. So Jeremy, are you able to share files and share your screen?
Yeah, let me click on my screen here. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Let me open that up. So let me click here. All right. So hopefully everything's still good, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, morning everybody. Today's little subject is getting ready to print using Adobe Creative Cloud Tools, using available tools to create ready-to-print files. I'm going to go over a few odds and ends today. There might be some big terminology that hopefully doesn't go over everybody's head. It's going to be kind of a little crash course in like how printing files work, and then I'm going to do a little bit of a demo followed by like some other odds and ends. But we can get started here. Just a little bit about me. I'm Jeremy Rich. I'm a senior graphic designer at the University Printing Services. I graduated here in 2008 with a degree in digital media with a minor in computer science. There wasn't a graphic design degree at the time. After I graduated university, I worked for Tuscaloosa News for 10 years under 3 different companies, and then I left there in 2008 and started working here at the university. So it's been a fun ride. I've learned a lot, and yeah. So I guess so here's a little bit of an overview of what we're going over today. Starting off with terminology, we'll use like crops and bleeds, resolution, and color space. Kind of talking about like the guts of what makes a printed file good or like useful for like a print shop. Following that, I'll go over some program demos. Looks like I mistyped it there. It's like demons. And be going over like InDesign and Acrobat, and then follow that up with some tips and tricks, just some odds and ends, and then after that, it'll be some questions. And so hopefully this will be really helpful for everybody today. So yeah, let's get started. What does a print ready file look like? Well, if you're sitting on your desktop or if you're looking through files, it's going to look like those little icons that are going to be on the right-hand side of the screen. It'll say like PDF, because PDFs are your best friend. PDFs are great for transferring files between like anything. Like everybody tends to use them. They're kind of an industry standard. They stand for Portable Document Format. It's developed by Adobe, which that's also who made the Creative Cloud, runs programs like InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, stuff people hear all the time. They're really good, and most print shops or printers like a FedEx or a Kinko's or anybody that's going to print something for you loves PDFs, because most of their programs that they're going to use to print something can read a PDF. So going a little bit further into this, we'll start talking about like, what are crops and bleeds? So crop marks are like little tiny thin tick marks that are going to be on the outside edge of your files. They kind of tell when, like, say you have an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and you've got an image that's really large and it goes up to the very edge of the page. Well, normally at a print shop, they'll cut that piece of paper out of something larger, and then they'll cut it down. Well, they want those crop marks to determine where to cut that to make sure that everything looks good. I guess this would be the best way to describe it. Like, make sure there's no little white thin and that your image goes flush up to the edge of the page. And so that kind of goes into like, what is a bleed? Well, bleed's a part of the text or the objects that extends past the boundary of the image area. Well, that sounds like a lot. So basically, the best way to describe it is if your 8.5 by 11 piece of paper has a giant picture of Denny chimes on it and it goes to the very edge. Well, when we go to cut that, if there's no bleed in there and they go to cut it, well, there's going to be like a little white little piece of things, because that cutter's not going to be able to cut exactly and accurate every single time. But with a bleed, it gives that extra room so they can kind of cut it and it still looks crisp. It's like, here's kind of an example. Hopefully you can see it. So the image on the left has like without crops and bleeds, and it just kind of looks like a regular standard image. But on the other side, you have these crops and bleeds, and you'll see these little tiny tick marks like up here and over here, and it kind of, the image extends past those crop marks. Well, that's the bleed. And hopefully in a little while, I'm going to pull up an actual InDesign document, and I'll kind of be able to show it a little bit better, and that'll be able to make more sense, because sometimes like seeing someone do something makes things much better. So the next big terminology that like a lot of print shops use is well, resolution. And like, what is it? So resolutions is how many images, pixels will fit inside each inch of paper. Best way to talk about it is it's simply the detail of the object that you're printing. It has everything to do with printing the image and nothing to do with how something looks on your screen. A good rule of thumb is the higher the resolution of an image, the better the print quality it's going to be. It's also sometimes referred to as DPI or dots per inch. You'll notice that in like a program like Photoshop or like image size. So another good thing to know is like a best DPI or quality for a printed image is 300. And that's good for brochures, notepads, letterheads, business cards, etc. Or 150 DPI for very, very large things like big posters. You see it like a movie or like a banner for like a grand opening or something. Maybe a billboard that you see driving around town, or like a big wall graphic that we've done here on campus. Those are usually about 150 DPI because the dots on those are a lot larger. So now, something else to note, and people tend to, it's difficult, is images that you see on your computer screen. Like if you go on Google search and you type in cat or dog, and you pull up an image of a cat or a dog, and it looks great on your screen. Well, that's because it's 72 DPI, because there's only 72 pixels across your computer monitor, and that doesn't translate very well into print. And so here's kind of a good example of what I'm talking about. So like if you notice on the image on the left, the girl's picture is very, very fuzzy because that's a low resolution 72 DPI image. I'm sure people have seen this before. You grab an image off the internet, you go to print it on a computer, you go and blow it up on a poster, and you get it printed out somewhere, and it's just so like pixelated and jagged edges, and nothing looks quite right. Versus a high resolution image is like crisp and clear because like of how the ink prints on it. The image on the right does a better job of talking about like how it actually works, because like you can see like the 300 DPI image is very smooth. You can't really tell. There's like little blurry edges as to where the 72 DPI image, which would be something you pulled off of like Google image search, is like it's got a couple of like rough edges around the outside there. It's kind of difficult to, you can kind of tell. And then the 10 DPI image is, you don't want to print something like that. that right there is going to be very very difficult to like make out what an object is there. So the last of all of the big terminology to talk about when you're talking about printing is color space. So all printing is done in what is known as CMYK. It stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and the K is for black. All printers use this because this signifies the types of inks that they use. Because those are like the cartridges you load in. Now, if you pull something off the internet or off your computer, the images are mostly sometimes going to be in an RGB color space, which is the red, green, and blue, which kind of like that's how lights in like a television work or like a computer monitor. Now, those don't necessarily translate very well. So sometimes if you get an image off the internet and you go want to print it, it's got to transfer those RGB colors into CMYK colors. And you can see here on like the right at the very bottom, you notice how like the colors kind of go from like kind of vibrant to a little bit on the duller side. So it always helps to kind of like run those through or get them converted into a different color space. And I'll show that in a minute with going through Acrobat. So yeah, let's get into some demo stuff here, and I'm gonna pull this up and find my file here. There we go. And So first off, I'm going to do this from InDesign, and this is InDesign here. Pretty basic on how it pulls up. InDesign is pretty much the industry standard on designing like brochures, template stuff, because it's got a lot of useful tools in like setting up your file, and as well as like it has the crops and beads functionality built into it. So if we wanted to do something from scratch, it's pretty easy, as simple as just starting a new file, and it brings you to the new document window. You would do it here, where we could just do test file, and then you'd set your width and your height up. You could set it up into your orientation to where it changes it. For now, we'll just leave it as 8.5 by 11 because that's a pretty common size that people want for like a flyer or various other odds and ends. You can set up your pages. So the most important thing is when we're talking about bleeds is right here you'd set up your bleed. So the bleed's going to be like an extra bit of space around the outside edge of your image. So if you were using something that wasn't InDesign or outside of it, you would want to account for that extra amount of space. Most of the time, a good rule of thumb for a bleed is like 1/8 of an inch of space, which comes out to 0.125. And the great part is if you've got your little check mark run right here, it will apply that to all of them. So then once you get the your page size set up, how many pages you want, if it's facing, and you got your bleed set up, you can hit create. So this is kind of what a standard like InDesign document is kind of going to look like when you're getting ready to set it up. So we're going to pull in an image here that I've got. I think I used it earlier. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So here's an image that we've got, and we want to set it up so it's getting ready to print. So as you can see, you got your white space here, and this is your image area. This is actually what you as a person like want to have printed. And that little pink line on the outside edge, which I'm going to highlight it here, this little pink box. And so like, there we go. So like this little area on the outside edge that I'm highlighting, that's going to be the bleed areas. Those are going to be the areas that you want your image to actually go to. And this way, when it goes to print, the cutter will take that little extra space off, but this way your edges are clean and neat. So if we set the image up in here, we do it like this. This area outside, if we printed this and it went to go and it got printed out and they went to go cut it, there's going to be a lot of white space on this outside edge over here. I guess it'd be a better way to show it would be, let's do it kind of like this. So it'd kind of run and you'd have this weird white edge on the outside because they can't cut it precisely. So now if you go to set up the bleed, you just kind of, expand your image out, go to the edge of the bleed. And this way, when it prints, it's going to go all the way flush to the edges of the page. Now I've set up a file, and hopefully it'll be available. I set this up right here, and I've packaged it so if anybody uses InDesign, you can actually use this. And I've got it set to where there's an image area and a bleed area that's signified. And the great part is you can size it to whatever you want. You could easily just go to your document setup and change you can make it 11 by 17, or you can make it wherever you want, and the bleed's always going to be set in it. So this way, if it was like 11 by 17, you still got the same amount of space. You can adjust it as you want. This way, it's kind of easier for everybody and go off a template. So let me see. Talk about. So yeah, that's it's not super like crazy. It's just pretty much just make sure you put your image in, always go to your bleeds. And then when you're done, you would go to your file and you would export it. And you would save it. And then under your marks and bleeds sections, all you have to worry about is clicking the crop marks and then use document bleed settings. And this way it tells InDesign when it's generating the PDF, hey, I've got crops, I've got a little bit extra bleed space. We need to set crop marks up. and then you would hit export. And then when you were done, it would actually come up with, you would get this. Zoom out. This is what the finished file will look like. This is what you would send to a printer. I mean, obviously the blue and the pink wouldn't be there, but the actual image would, and you'll actually have your crop marks up here in the corners, and it actually will go, and this is where they're going to cut it to size it down. So yeah, that's how InDesign works with like setting up a file as well as setting up the crops and bleeds on it. So the next thing I want to go over is Acrobat. Now Acrobat has a lot of really interesting functions that I can't really go into, or we'll be here much longer. So with Acrobat, say you don't have access to InDesign and all you have is Acrobat. So what you could do is, say we've got that same picture, that image, and we want a PDF of it. So we can go here to PDF from file, and we can go to PowerPoint, demo files. We can click this right here and click open. And so PowerPoint's going to open this up, and there's my image. Now I could save this immediately as a PDF, and you can try and send it to a printer. The issue would be it doesn't have crop marks. It doesn't have bleed accounted for it. And before you would like run it, you would also want to change the color space on there, because you want to make it sort CMYK, make sure that when it prints, it's going to print the actual colors that you're wanting. So the best way to go about that is Acrobat has this really nice function called Preflight that's built into it that you can go to. And I've set some PDF files up that'll be available to use, that'll talk about step-by-steps for how to do this. So with Acrobat here, you'd be able to go to your Preflight, and you'd go to digital printing and online publishing, and you would double click this, and you'd resave it as, let's call it Acrobat demo. Click save. And right here, Acrobat's going to convert it to a 4-color CMYK out of RGB and save it as a PDF. So now I'd be able to actually take that PDF and pull it into InDesign and set it up, and I would know it's the right color space. Or if I've accounted for bleed, like say from a third-party program that you're using, that's not InDesign, or you'd be able to account for that bleed space. Like if you set up a file that was a little bit extra, you could tell them, hey, I want it cut down by 8.5, 11, but still going to need crop marks on it. So we can actually go down here. There's a, let's see. Oh. So you can actually set printer marks in Acrobat. So you can set up your bleeds and the trim marks. You can click OK. So it should there. So this way, when I go to save it, and you open it up in Acrobat, let's see. Sure. Should be, well, when it goes to print here, it'll actually, I think we can do it this way. It'll add these crop marks when it goes to like a print. But the best thing to do is if you're doing this with a JPEG and you're pulling it in as a PDF, pull it into InDesign, set it up in that file, and that way it'll set up correctly. All right, so let's go back to here. Do this. So we got over that. All right. So a couple of tips and tricks to talk about when you're setting up your stuff is when in doubt, Google it. Google is an amazing tool, and if you're working in Acrobat or InDesign or another program and you need to set up a PDF file with crops and bleeds, just type in the program name. Like if you're just like InDesign crops and bleeds setup in Google, and it should bring you up to a like a tutorial or something, maybe even a YouTube video that can kind of help you out in case like some of the stuff I've gone over today is a little bit over your head, or if you just it doesn't have problems sticking. You know, Google is a great way to help you figure things out. So when I was talking about like images and high quality images, if you need an image, first thing you need to do, try a stock photo website. Like Shutterstock, iStock, Getty Images, Adobe Stock Photos is also an option. You might have to pay for them, but always the images are going to be very high quality, and they'll let you download them. Or if there's like in a design process, if you're trying to get a specific image, letting a print shop or a designer know, sometimes they may have access to these stock photo images. Now, if you can't find the image you're looking for on a stock website, but Google image search has it and you're pulling it up, one of the best things to do is inside your Google search, there's a tools function. You can set that to high quality, and this way you know that the image you're downloading off of Google is actually like high quality, and it won't have the pixelation, or it won't like look kind of rough. Another good thing to do is after you've printed something out, or you've built something in InDesign, print it out. Print it out in your office printer, home printer. Doesn't really matter. I mean, this is not something you're going to hand out everywhere to get it professionally done. This way you can kind of look at it and make sure that everything looks okay before you send it off to a printer. This way, kind of like if something's kind of out of whack, or if something looks, weird, you can kind of figure it out. Or if all else fails, just call the place you're having print. Ask them some questions. They're there to help. Like either the person that you're talking to will know, or they'll put you in touch with somebody that will. With here at the University Printing, you talk to the front office and tell them like, hey, can you check out this file for us? Make sure it looks okay. They might send it up to a designer or somebody to look at to make sure it looks all right. So yeah. Other than that, so we got any questions?
Any questions for Jeremy?
Hopefully I didn't go too fast. I know sometimes I can get to talking. And
No, it was good.
So.
Hit some good points.
Great job, Jeremy.
No.
That's really informative, and I'm glad that University Printing is able to help those on campus further their knowledge of how to get their documents to us in a proper way. And like you said, anytime anyone needs any help, they can contact our front office, like you said, and we're more than happy to help with walking you through or pre-flighting or anything like that. So thank you for mentioning that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
And Carrie, Jeremy, if somebody is contacting UA Printing for the first time, where should they start?
I actually have that right here. So we're located here on campus, 325 Kirkland Lane, over on the Bryce Lawn. I think I might have put the zip code a little bit wrong there, but it should pull up in. They're probably like 3501, I think. And then our front office number is 205-348-5200. We provide services for all of the University of Alabama as well as local Tuscaloosa areas. Services include business cards, letterheads, envelopes, large format printing like banners, posters, wall graphics, and a lot of other stuff. And our website is printing@ua.edu. So, and if need be, my actual personal email is rich001@ua.edu. You can always email me if you've got questions or if you run into a problem of something. And then my desk number is 348-8267. So I don't mind taking a call. So you can always just say, hey, I saw you on the tutorial on how to get your files ready for print. I had a quick question about something. I don't mind walking somebody through or helping them out. Anybody here at University Printing, we're all really helpful at getting folks to make sure their stuff gets done. So
excellent, because when the file's set up right, it makes everybody's job a little bit easier, right?
Yes, streamlined is the best way to go.
Yes, start with the right files, and you can get your job in your hand a lot faster.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, So yeah, if any questions, or even if after this if somebody's got a question, feel free to reach out. We're here.
Sounds good. Well, thank you again, Jeremy, and we'll share this with different colleges and get it to some students, and we'll make it available on our site, and you can share it with folks if somebody happens to reach out for the first time and is saying, where do I even get started setting up my document? This would be a good place for them to get started. So we appreciate you taking time today to do this.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. We'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you. Bye.